Good afternoon. It's Joyful Christian Hermit. Another day is sliding by with I spinning my wheels, it seems. Not really getting much accomplished, it seems. And it is bothersome to me. I'm having to really adjust to these realities that I don't seem to accomplish what I really want to accomplish or think I ought to be. And there's many reasons for this, and this affects my hermit vocation, my hermit life. To a great degree, I'm not successful in it in this regard. And I can look back and see, I can't look back and have regrets, but I keep making mistakes. I think they're mistakes. I'm not even sure. I'm in over my head physically with trying to get things done because my mid-back is so severe. When you have a fusion, the discs above usually over time will compact against the fused part and break down. But I went for many years with my shorter fusion. But when they did the fusion up about half my back, all up through the lumbar, up to, it's mid-back about, somehow I've only gotten 5 years out of that. And then the L1, the T12, and the T11, the thoracic, have deteriorated, crumbled in there. And stenosis is bad in there also. But once they start getting involved in the thoracic, they don't do surgery. So I don't know what will happen. I've had these injections to no avail. One lasted about 3 weeks. If he used steroid, he didn't use very much. I might ask if they can do more, but I literally cannot be up for any length of time standing. Within 15 to 20 minutes, it's bad. And then that really affects my intestinal pain, clamping. Your muscles automatically tighten. So that's part of it. I can't function physically as much. But also, there's just a lot of noise. But it's inner noise. There's silence. It's been very silent. But the pain itself creates a noise in me. I've noticed that. Creates a noise in my mind. The pain does. But the things that I've done, I've like just the news on the laptop. I started watching news probably in July, about the time getting prepared for the election in this country. So I started praying and knew I was to pay more attention for that time period. But after the election was over, I was going to stop paying attention to news. But I'm in that habit. I've got to break that habit because there's no need for me to know what's going on out there. But I've noticed this is going into your cell, and your cell will teach you. This is for anyone. Go into your cell, go your surroundings, but also into your soul and your mind and your heart. And I look in there and I see there's the noise of the outer world, the news, little headlines even. And it becomes noise, words, and distraction in there. But I want some of that distraction because I can escape the pain. And it's just an example, just giving today as an example of the life of a hermit and one that's in a lot of pain. So I got a text from my middle sister, my second up sister, and I hadn't heard from her in a while. And she asked about Christmas, where would I be and all. Well, it doesn't matter where I am. Things like that don't matter anymore at all. And she, well, let me know, want to know if I'd be with one of my kids. Of course not. And I don't think. And see, for me, and my sister's known me for years. She's known me for 40 years of my pain. But it's just too hard for people to grasp it. But for me to be somewhere at Christmas and sitting, or to get there even, it just doesn't matter to me. And it's more pain. It's more pain. So that, text me a couple times, would I be with this daughter? Or what's this daughter doing and her son and all, and would I be there? And I don't know what they're doing. They'll be doing something, all of them. I did send a text, maybe it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago, probably 3 weeks ago, at least 2, to the daughter in the Midwest. I haven't seen, well, she came for my knee replacement surgery, which was wonderful. And I really enjoyed it so much. She was here about 3.5 days, I think, and came in late one day, 3 days, and then so it'd be 4 total, or less than 4 total, but travel and all. So for her, 5 days, including a lot of travel. But I was in the hospital nearly 2 days, and so she didn't hang around there much. I mean, she did to get me situated and to make sure that they knew about my pump and all for the anesthetic. And then came back to get me later the next day after the surgery. So, and then the following day was with her sister for lunch and for supper. Went out and talked, which I was happy for. But then the morning she left, she was busy getting ready to go. I knew she was very eager to leave. And she did tell me, she says, I need to tell you that being here with you has really been difficult for me. And bless her heart to have the courage to even express that amount of feelings. She keeps things in. Very sensitive person. I realized all the more, the older I was, just what a sensitive person. And I wished I had known that, or when she was young, I knew, but I think I took the approach of trying to get her to be strong, not stronger, just not as sensitive, to be able to cope with, to handle it, to roll with the punches. And I didn't take the time that was needed for someone sensitive. I'm sensitive, but I've learned to handle it out in world situations. She was just a child. I didn't handle it well at all. Wasn't sensitive to how sensitive a little child she was and grew up. And when we sold a house that we had there to get into an apartment to get ready for court, because I was sure God was going to have us leave the state. He'd had dreams every night for a year until I took action, until I sold that house, got us into an apartment. The day the house sold, the day I listed it, it sold, and I didn't have another dream that I was to take the children back to the Midwest. So to my hometown, it had to be the hometown. Kept showing me that. And I realized later that God was serious about it. I'm fairly sure that the ex would have somehow hired someone to have killed me. Because the last bad thing that had happened was that somebody shot through the bedroom window. And I was propped up like this on the bed at night with a light on and didn't have curtains up. I had a fence out there, but they shot through the fence. Somehow, through or above, stood up and went that, but hit the bedroom window. The children were there, but they were laying down, so they wouldn't have seen the children. Well, they were little too, but we were having prayer time and night story. And we did that every night. And so somebody did that. Wasn't the ex, but he had done other things, and the deputies in that town in Southern California already said they felt that my ex was hiring illegals, hiring me to be terrorized. Or the first rental house we had was burglarized, and the last time was a violent, thorough one. We had to leave. We had to get out that night. 6 times in 7 months. And the last time was so bad, and the sheriff deputy said, "You've had all these," and this, he said, "it has to be him. We're thinking it's your ex-husband who's hiring probably illegals, grove workers, to do this." Because he says, there hasn't been even any call for this whole area of even an item stolen, let alone people trying to get in or getting in, or stealing things from outside around, so they were convinced. But I think I just had so much to deal with everything in my surgeries and all, or the main surgery, and then I had a small surgery, and my children and things that he was doing regarding them, a lot of trauma. And I was working and trying to keep going and dealing with the divorce, all that we were terrorized. I was being terrorized, and he had vowed he would destroy me. But he was then a school principal in very nice districts, and but did things with finances. And also I'm thinking, over the years and thinking back, for God to give you the same dream every single night, but it was going to be a major ordeal. He was already threatening me about, to get me not to leave. It wasn't that he really wanted the children that much. It was always trying to destroy me, but he also wanted to possess, and he used them to make himself seem the great dad to others. He would boast and things in his school districts, but so that was something. But anyway, in only my sister asking about that, about visiting them, and I said, no, I haven't heard back. And I said, and I didn't think I would, but I said I mentioned to them, texted my daughter maybe 2 weeks ago, that if they would like me to come visit. I put it that way because they need to want me to come after what she said. I don't want to upset her. I realize being around me triggers her from the memories of all that we went through. And she was the eldest. And there we were back in the Midwest in a state that was very antiquated about their attitudes about pain medicine, so I got none. And not till later on, she was out of college when I finally, one doctor gave me a little, a very low dose. And, but thank God, it helped so much compared to but I still had the horrible spinal headaches that were unreal. And I would have sieges of those about every 3 weeks or more or farther apart, depended on all kinds of factors. If I lifted something wrong or if I sat wrong or too much. So just my sister asking triggered up all this of the past, and then that really took a lot of time and energy, just of that being triggered with that. And I remembered this daughter asking me as an adult, why was it that we had moved from California? They've blocked it out, or something. They were desperate to leave. At the time, they were desperate and wanting to. And in the end, even though we had a miracle in court, I was feeling squeamish about it because I had very loving people then in my Lutheran church, my GP, very, very loving people, very helpful people. And we'd gone from an apartment, then we went ahead and got into a rental house again because the apartment was getting difficult for us being squeezed in there, and it was just getting hard for. We had a pet, and somebody had to take him because it was hard on him being in the apartment, a little beagle. So I needed to get us in more of a. Oh, and there was also drug dealing going on in the apartment complex, and it was getting not good to be there as long as because court was dragging out. It had to be put off because of something the ex did to the son over Christmas vacation that year. So just a mess, but how easily traumas can get triggered. Just my sister asking that, see, and then I wrote, texted, and so that took some time. And then I got some things ready to mail to this. My friend died to her son. I'm sending him something that will be meaningful, and I think he'll enjoy, some to write down memories of his mother. And then got another package ready for a young woman who I knew I was helped with her in part when she was growing up. And so she's very excited. There's something her father gave me that I'm sending to her to give to her boy. And she's very excited about that because her father's ill now with cancer, 4th stage lung cancer. And he's an older man. He's in his 80s. I didn't realize my friend was actually a little younger than I thought. Just 68. She just turned 68. But she's in a good place. I'm very excited for her being there. She's passed away 2 nights ago. So had a beautiful obituary her children wrote. Anyway, but that took time, wrapping these things and getting them in a box and fitted, and the other in an envelope, and got the pups. We've been out maybe 3 or 4 times they've wanted to go out, and carried some stuff upstairs from down, and found my nail gun, and then wrote a long text to Dr. H. He had called a couple of weeks ago and was going to call the next day. And he had called me. And I hadn't texted him that I wanted to talk or anything. So, but I was so filled with insights. I'd had a lot of insights. And they just all came out because, I don't talk with people. See, other than the dogs, but I don't talk much. We talk about going out or good job, good job eating your breakfast and that kind of thing. I'll talk to them, giving them a TREAT, talk to them about that, and they get excited. But so I don't have people really to talk. That's, I think, another reason these videos go on and on. Just getting out. My mind is full of noise, of thought, of insights, of even, like I say, the news. I'm going to stop that. I've cut back. I was doing headlines, but then you get tempted to read a little bit of the article. Usually they do these teasing headlines that don't give you really the information. And so you have to look at the article. I mean, it's their business. That's what they do best. And obviously, they don't want you just to read the headline. They want you to, the more clicks, the more ad money they get too. So the longer you view. But I've just got to stop. St. Dorotheus of Gaza, a hermit, he was in the early 20th century, late 19th. He did not at all ever look at a newspaper. And so I didn't for a long time have anything to do with news, several years. But God had wanted me to pray for the election. My cousin mentioned things about it, so well, keep up with it. But now I've got to stop putting added information in my head that's not necessary. I can pray for the world in general, or maybe once a week. Look, it's good because with so much in my mind, or God would remind me, the Holy Spirit. But I like to be reminded of such as children or people being raped and murdered by illegal immigrants, or anyone even, or accidents, or murders, just the different things going on by category I can pray for. The evils in the world, I can pray for souls. Like this young man who was angry at the insurance industry and killed a CEO of an insurance company that he himself didn't have anything to do with. He hadn't been denied claims or anything. He just was angry and was taking on the establishment, somehow thinking killing him would start a revolution and change the insurance industry. Who knows what all he thought. But he's ruined his life, and he took the life of a man who was 50 years old, who had 2 sons who no longer have a father, and a wife who they were separated for several years, I guess, but still they were friends. They were not in animosity with each other, and they were rearing their sons. So it's, things like that I can be reminded of to pray for, like to pray for his soul and to pray for him to accept responsibility for what he's done. He's not well. He's got psychological issues, obviously, because he feels entitled that was important for him to do, to kill the man, to kill the CEO. So, at least, that's what they reported, that his attitude and his outbursts that he had, and this manifesto he wrote, that he was justified in doing it. And some people out there in the world were heralding him for that. So it's a sick world. And I can pray for that. I don't need to have the details. I don't think. I thought I did. But I think it's a lot of mind clutter to have too many details, because I'm missing out on maybe hearing what God wants to tell me. And Dr. H, when he did call 2 weeks ago, he was tired, and he's older than me, I think by 5 years or 4 years, and still working with clients. He's needed. He's in demand. He's excellent. He's a healer. And grasps spiritual depths very wise, and he's just a very loving soul, and very wise and capable and an expert. He's an expert clinical psychologist and not in it for the money. In fact, I think he didn't bother with his license anymore. He's doing life coaching, so he's charging just minimal amount. And if someone can't pay, he doesn't charge them at all. So he's a wonderful human being. And but I just flooded the phone call, with all these insights and ideas and different things. And especially the more pain I'm in, the more it will distract me from pain. Listening takes more effort. And so there's more opportunity to me to feel the pain, to be conscious of my pain. But I must, and I realize I need to take more pain med. I'm given more to take. These last MRIs stunned my pain doctor and the neurosurgeon and this specialist. They're seriously compassionate toward me now. I mean, because they always were, but I mean, especially so when they saw, because I make an effort to push through and to not let the pain rule me or to affect my attitude. And God has given me many graces to keep positive and to keep as active as possible, and to keep to not have even anyone realize that I'm in pain. To mask it well, because why have that always be their perception or their worry and concern, even in a conversation? It will take away from what is important to talk about. The soul, the spiritual life, what they're doing. I'm very interested in what other people are doing. But with Dr. H, since he's knows me for 39 years now, over 39 years, it's just very easy for me. Here's someone who knows me, who can give feedback and is right on target. But I over talked, and he wants me to practice 1/3 talking, 2/3 listening. And after we talked a while, 2 weeks ago, I said, "Oh my, I forgot 1/3, 2/3." Then he ended up having to leave for another appointment, and it wasn't he just had time to call, but because I hadn't asked him to call me or anything. But he started talking about how tired he was from the night before. They'd had many, many guests for Thanksgiving at their home, and up very late. And he said, but that's that's his business. That's his role in life, is people, and in having people feel comfortable and to talk with him. Because I apologized. He said, "Oh, I've been 7/8 talking and 1/8 you talking." And he says, "Don't worry." And I says, I want to call you back tomorrow between 11 and 12 or something in the morning. Would have been a Saturday, 2 weeks ago today. And he didn't. I just assumed he was busy. But I haven't heard since. I didn't want to text and bother him or make him feel like I was intruding or needed to take more of his time to suck life out of him, in fact. But I did. I wrote this long one to him about him and reminding him. God sometimes will show me people as an animal or a creature that gives what they are. what they like. He used to have when I was there in person years ago, he would have clients, and sometimes I would sense even what type of person was in the room prior to my coming in. But one time I knew of someone, and the person's a weasel. Even in there were different features that stood out, But I offered that. He didn't even know that I knew the thing. He had to know the person. But he then asked me, what was he? What did God show me that he? And well, he's an ancient tortoise, but with a distinctive soft shell, smooth and soft shell, and his eyes particularly wise, and they showed knowledge and wisdom of eons, of time, endless time. I told him that he was I don't know what he wanted to be or whatever, but I said, this is great. I said, research, I said, it's ancient, it's wisdom, stands for wisdom. It's heralded, I think, in the Asian countries. It was very great, wise. And so I was reminding him of that, but of the distinctiveness that he wasn't shown with a hard shell or crusty or rough, but it all reflects the beauty of his selflessness and of his soft soul, soft heart, soft soul toward people. He's not anyone who would ever put anyone off, who would make anyone ever feel uncomfortable. I think he has the heart of anyone that approaches unconditional love and selfless love of others. He lays himself down. He lays his life down for others. And I said, I think maybe you were calling. I said, there has to be just a tinge of your feeling now and then. You're a very fine meshed sieve, and that at times all this is being squeezed through you. People are squeezing or pressing, and you're being drained. And I said, even this text may be just one little fine mesh hole that I am draining out of you. Because he's human. And, but that it was a deep text, a very spiritual text, but reflecting upon him, but acknowledging that he had called for a reason and that I hadn't heard back. I didn't say, oh, call me or anything. I don't want to pressure. But I thought at some point, something may happen with him. He may have an illness or something that he wants to tell me about. I don't think he does, but, and he did laugh when I said, I haven't done 1/3, 2/3 at all. And he says, well, I'll call back tomorrow. You can practice that then. Thank you, because I want to. But I'm realizing that my days go, and a lot of this is from pain, not just the physical pain, but the pain of existence, of the temporal world. And I'm a victim soul, so it's a lot of vicarious suffering, taking on the sorrows and the sufferings of the world. If you're sensitive, you tend to. And of course, you have to learn to have boundaries, protections in place. You can't allow yourself to be drained out. I know when I'm being overpeopled, and it doesn't take much at all. Even the added texting with my friend's son, which turned out a lot of that I probably didn't need to do. I didn't realize that he had so much support right there already. Some of his siblings were there, I think. It seemed to be, he said, when the final one came, that meant that the others were already there. So I didn't need to do so much, and maybe didn't need to at all, other than the opportunity to help lift him up and to help him to focus on the joy of what this new birth is, of what our second birth is, our birth into eternity when we die, and how phenomenal it is, and what a miracle it is, the major miracle. Far more a miracle than had she been healed and left here for another year or 2 or 3, suffering with cancer, unless it totally went, but it would come back. The man who had the heart problem years ago, 40 years ago, would be 40 years ago this last summer. And I'd given him that relic badge of Father Solanus Casey and put it in his pocket, said, keep it by your heart. Well, he didn't, he says, I'm not always going to have a shirt on like this with a pocket. He put it in his wallet and kept it there. It's still there. But a year ago, this rare heart condition came back. We all have to die of something sometime. God gave him 39 years of total, that heart ailment, the doctor said it was a miracle, totally gone 40 years ago. Within a couple of months of him, after he started having that relic badge, and we were many prayers for him, but I had asked Father Solanus to intercede and told him to ask also for favors, ask Father Solanus to pray for him. And he had that relic badge in his wallet at all times, and faith. But he had 3 children, 1 in junior high, and I think 2 were in high school at the time. And he didn't want to die, didn't want to leave them fatherless and his wife a widow. No one does when they're in that situation, obviously. He was early 40s then, if that. Yes, or mid 40s, I think he was. So maybe a couple of years older than me, and I would have been 44, 46 he would have been. And so he has been free of this heart, had no heart issues at all. There's nothing on the scans, total miracle. Until a year ago, it came back, that same illness, though. It's sort of unique. It's really sort of miraculous. It was God telling him, I took this away for 39 years, and I'm giving it back to you now. And this will likely weaken his heart eventually. But when you're older, things grow slower, generally. But my friend's cancer went very, very quickly, very quickly. 6 weeks since she knew about her, just 5 weeks, I think, or even a month, when they had the diagnosis. So she'd been short of breath maybe 2 months prior. Which didn't really alarm her too much. She finally said something to her son, and he got her in thinking her heart. But no, it was lung cancer. So it had spread all over. Well, it hadn't, but within 2 weeks it had spread all over. So she didn't need to suffer long. She's very pure, very ready. Maybe 1 or 2 things, that that I know of, that I'm sure she cleared up even before she passed. So I would have many. That's why I'm suffering a lot. Obviously a lot to purify in me. Plus I'm a victim soul. I've signed up for that. And so I suffer for others and suffer for the world. So it's not terrible seeing the news, because sometimes it can help me suffer better to consider that I'm offering my suffering for these victims and also for the ones who commit the crimes, because they're sick. The devil has them, or they have a mental illness so badly that they were not in their right minds. So, anyway, but the time goes, and I can be up such short periods that it's hard to get much accomplished. So I've been resting here for quite a while, and I'm going to get my compressor plugged in, the air hose hooked up, practice a few times to make sure the adjustment of the depth of the power of the shooting the nails in. And I'm going to start nailing in the inner wrap around. I have 3 windows out in front to do that are ready and have been for a long time, maybe 2 years for the inner trim on those. Well, not a year and a half maybe. But I've had ailments. I had the thyroid go out, so I was in bed most of the time. The kidney went out, kidney failed, and then my blood condition was very bad and had very bad anemia. So I was out. But now here's this mid-back, just so severe. And then I'm not organized. I have too much in the mind. Noise, clutter in the mind, in addition to around me. And when you have so many projects that you could be doing, and you're not well physically and have pain, and finally my anemia is not as bad. I have a little more energy. It's even hard to focus on what to do next. And just then to fix something for me to eat. Last night I cut, I was going to try to do the nail gunning last night, some of it. And I started maybe at 5 o'clock or 6, I guess. Had some beets to chop, an onion, red beets, a little bit of garlic to put on a baking tray, drizzle with, put some of my herbs, not all have died and frozen, and in the oven. Bake it at 425 degrees for however long. I take it out part way and stir it, maybe 45 minutes at most. Take it out in between and stir and roast it. But just the standing to cut those beets and red onions, I was sick with pain, and I was done for the night, from the mid-back pain. And I'd had a gut attack the night before, and it's just, I was praising God today because I found I was going to make some spaghetti sauce to eat, lots of hamburger in it, and then I just eat it plain. I don't have time to cook. I don't want to cook. I don't want the noodles anyway. I don't want the wheat and the pasta. Not so good for my intestines that are paralyzed. They're not moving properly at all. No motility in them. From the arachnoiditis, that is, caused from that over time, and my time is nigh. But it was, pain, and so I came to grips with it all and realized that I just need to take little steps here and there, try to cut back. This is for all of us when we get into these modes of too much distraction, mental noise. You don't have to be a hermit to have this happen. Overwhelmed. I was feeling overwhelmed with too much, and you probably feel it at this holiday if you're not Christian, otherwise the Advent Christmas season. Lots of things people think they must do and want to do, but it can be overwhelming. So we have to make choices and make decisions. And I realized too much mental clutter, too much interior noise, and I need to deeply accept, I may not ever get this cleaned up or organized. I've been trying to sell things online, and the time it takes to get that set up, photos and the ads, and then keep checking, and if somebody wants something, negotiate, or they'll leave a message, but then they don't want it. And then I had messed up with somebody wanted 2 doors, and I hadn't looked at the door in so long. I didn't remember exactly where the damage was on it at the bottom. But when I got out there, I realized, well, this is going to be harder for a buyer to fix. I could fix it. I have the stuff and the tools and the time, sort of. But I would have to stand to do it, but I need someone to lift it in and put it on the sawhorses and then flip it for me. I can't lift like that anymore with my back at all. And my neighbor, man, it's been 2 weeks and he still says he has a sinus infection and can't come yet or doesn't want me to get sick, and I'm grateful for that. So everything here is on hold with that. So I have to try to find other things to try to make headway. And everywhere I look, there's something I could be doing. And so I have to just back away and cut out some of the distractions, either full hog on the news or bit by bit, make a rule, headlines only. Then I need to be at peace with the fact that I may not be able to get this in shape. Or maybe but the way my pain is I can't make a plan that like this day I'm going to do this, or in the morning I'm going to do this, in the afternoon I'll do that. Because in the morning I may wake up having been up in the night with horrific gut issues. Or I may have to sleep in, or not, I don't sleep that well, but I might have to lay in bed a long time in the morning. Well, until 9, that's about the latest the dogs can handle. Or there's some appointment I have to get to. Not often, but there's always something that can interfere. So I thought, praise God, I have so many different things that I could do, because I can always fit in something when I can't do the other. Or like we're having rain, so that makes my neck worse even. And my knees worse when it rains. So it's hard to even go up the stairs. So, and I'm nauseated. Haven't been able to eat because my gut's not good. So I'm drinking this protein drink with we went to the store yesterday and got this 0 Coke and 0 Dr. Pepper they had on sale to mix. So I get the caffeine to help with the headaches. So it's just a lot. And I thought, be at peace with the chaos, but keep it silent and keep it out of my brain so much. And don't worry about it. Don't feel bad that I may not ever be able to finish this mess I got into. And don't go back thinking, why did I get this place? I should have known better, yes. I should have stuck with the focus of my spiritual DA and what I even really wanted to do. But I knew I needed manual labor to do also. And I like doing this kind of work. And I can do it in little bits and pieces, but I did not know that I even had arachnoiditis. I knew I had pain. It had never been diagnosed in all those years. It takes someone who knows what they're looking for or what they see. It takes a neurosurgeon with an MRI and a neurosurgeon who knows what arachnoiditis is. And the ones I had in the Midwest did not. None of them spotted this. This neurosurgeon spotted it immediately. The arachnoiditis. Do you realize you've got arachnoiditis? Just the way he said it, I knew, oh my, this is, but I knew, I said, well, I've been in horrible pain for years. And I said, and it's gotten worse, but I thought it was just the spine because then I was there because I needed back surgery. It was about 2.5 months after I moved in here. And it was a year recovery. Then I needed 4 more surgeries. And then the knee didn't work, wasn't successful. So I've got a bad knee permanently, but we can't blame ourselves for these things. And not even for my unreality, given my age and given what I went through on the island. I came out by the grace of God triumphantly. Thanks be to God, and only because of God. But I loved this view. And then I can look at that, because God did not warn me against this. There was no big warning. And even my mother appeared when I prayed, I think it was when we were setting up the inspection. I could have gotten out of it. And she appeared. And it was the first time I had seen her where she could look at me directly, and I don't think she spoke, but she smiled, and she was in a brilliant yellow dress that looked like the sun. First time I knew that she had made it, finally had made it to God is pure love. Made it it was in heaven, had progressed. And because all the other times before, and I haven't explained that, how you can tell, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get off on tangents. But so that was very encouraging to me. But in all those surgeries and the recoveries, and as much time I spend on this bed, the joy and the beauty and the gratitude I have for seeing this glorious view of the pond, of the plantings out here, of just looking off. There's a golf course way beyond. It's not connected with this little subdivision, but it's over there. So there's even more. From this, I don't see any houses. On occasion will see somebody walking, and the dogs will. They get all excited. They love to see that. But otherwise, it's a view to die for. They used to say that. Maybe that was in the late 1990s. It was this trend, that taste to die for, or something. Got very overused. I'm glad it's done. It's not used anymore, but I just thought of that. But it's sort of ironic, it's a view to die for. So anyway, that's how I'm going to deal with this, is just keep plugging away. I think I'll try a list if I can then find the list. But maybe of just the different projects, I'll title it, If You're in a Fuddle and You Can't Think of What to Do. I'll have things I can do in bed, things I can do if I'm not super well but able to be up, things I can do if I'm feeling well enough to really take on something of more, and then I'll do a variety and leave space to check off, or to check off is better even than crossing out, I think. Well, crossing out's good too, because it's erasing it. It's like you're saying, oh, I did that. Psychologically, I'm going to do psychological little perks, and then I'll see more that I am accomplishing something. And pain meds are constipating, and when your intestines, what's happened is I have no motility. They're essentially paralyzed. That happens with arachnoiditis. It's one of the three big things that will happen, that usually happens. It's typical. Your bladder will stop, your intestines will stop, and you'll lose feeling in your legs. So I've had, the intestines are my main thing. But if I take more pain med, that doesn't help it. But I'm going to have to. I have it. They said, this is for breakthrough pain. And even on the pain I mainly take, it says 1 or 2, morning and night. I take 1. I could take 2. I'm just trying to help my intestines, not even be worse. But I guess they can't be too much worse. And we'll just see. I have to use strong stuff now. And that can be very sickening. Makes you sick. And so I have to go along with it. Go with God's flow. And offer it. Offer all this added. Offer the pain of being overwhelmed. Offer the pain of realizing you may not achieve what you want to achieve, even if in cleaning up, even in trying to get rid of stuff. Just keep doing things, even if it's not in any organized manner. Just keep doing. And then spend the time, like at night or when I'm ill here, if the time that is quiet, that I'm awake in the night, spend that time just trying to listen to God and just lay here being with God. But I've gotten into this habit of turning on the laptop here and of distracting away so that I don't feel pain. It's become habitual. And when I'm not distracting that way, I'm distracting with my mind, taking my mind away, thinking of things. Busy thinking, so that I won't be cognizant of the pain in my body. It's got to that point. And I think that's a lot of my memory problems. It took me a long time to think of Dr. H's a woman friend. He's a widower, and he's found a lovely woman. When I was writing to him, I wrote, and it took me a long time to think of her name. So it's, I just spend so much time out, away, but yet there's clutter also in all that away. That when I try to specify on something, to think specifically, then my mind has been so wiped out with all this other noise of clutter, of things that don't matter, dumb stuff in the news. So I think news is a good place to start. Just go cold, just bite the bullet on that. I had done it before. Just got back in with the elections, and you need to get right back out. But see, it's an easy distraction, very easy distraction from pain. Maybe I just need to feel the pain more. But that's very hard to do. And the triggering back, like when this man called the other night to tell me about Mary, our friend Mary, but I'd already known, but he talked on, but I did a lot of talking because I had been standing already. The pain was killer mode, and I lose like an awareness of it, and I just yapped. Then I have to write an apology to him, which takes time, but I need to, and explain if anyone can possibly understand. And it's really at a point sort of beyond my control when the pain gets that bad. The talk and the texting. My cousin was yesterday, I think, texted me something. It was an evening, and it was after the beats. I was laying here, just, oh my goodness. Texted me, wanted a question or something. And I wrote. Then after a while, and I had to take the breakthrough pain med. After a while, that was helping. And I wrote back and said, I'm so sorry. I was out of my mind in pain when you wrote to me. And I said, you're starting to see that I just do that to escape. It kills time, which is too bad. But it works for pain, to get your mind away from the pain, but it's totally not socially acceptable. It's impolite. It seems manic and crazy to write that much. And unnecessary. I don't even know what I was writing about. Something, I think, spiritual related to Mary, or something that my cousin wasn't pertinent to her. So, but it was where I could go. And that itself is selfish, but at least I was going to something spiritual. Now today with my sister, I was explaining something of the past that is partly why that had triggered the daughter with thinking of her childhood and things and all the suffering. So, and then it got into thoughts of the ex-husband, which is not of God. That was a horrible situation. He's not well, yes, but at some point in time, people with their personality disorders have made a choice. They didn't start lying and believing their lies. They started lying and no one stopped them or corrected them. Or they had a big fit, because sociopaths tend to, and borderline personality disorder people also, if you poke them, they react. And people say, well, don't poke them. But parents need to poke them, or good friends need to poke them and stick with it and confront them. If it's gone on too long, they need therapy, and they need it ongoing for the rest of their lives, because they're not easily healed from that. It's an ongoing battle. Sociopaths and borderline personality disorder, and some other personality disorders. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, that's different than OCD, that's different than obsessive control disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder is different than obsessive compulsive personality disorder. The obsessive compulsive is the repetitive hand washing, the fear of germs, the phobias, everything has to be in order, like that. And that's very more narrowed. The obsessive compulsive personality disorder has far more to it, connected with the personality of the person, and it also likes things in order, but they think that they themselves are perfect and in order, but everyone else is not, or most are not. And so if you rile an obsessive compulsive personality disorder, they will not take it well at all. Not at all. So I found out the hard way on that. So, but if it's gone on, but these always start earlier on, like even in childhood, environmentally, or they think sociopath now can be some hereditary in it, but otherwise it's maybe a parent that has the tendencies, and the child picks it up, and no one has said anything or tried to help the parent to stop that amount of OCPD. But the sociopath part, if the child starts making up stories, can't take correction, and can't ever admit fault, their egos, they become narcissistic, and just never want to be in trouble, so they just make up lies or make up stories or manipulate, and then no one stops the lying, no one corrects that, or they blow up and have their tantrums. Yes, they do, but or get them to therapy early on, or because it just builds and then it becomes ingrained, and then it becomes a serious problem where they might be able to have a job and do all that, but they may have to change jobs frequently, get moved on frequently. That was my ex-husband's situation. Or part-time where they have people in and out, new clients or something that they, like if you're doing some kind of career counseling or something, then you have a student come in and out. You're not spending overtime with them. Anybody over time will detect the lies and the problems and the narcissism and etc. So, see, I got off on that. But I haven't noticed my pain at all doing all this yapping. So, this is something, though, that is getting in the way of my vocation and of what I want most, which is Christ. And I can think about Christ and talk about Christ, but it's still just pain management that I'm doing. So it's not right. I don't like it. And I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and take more pain med and try to be content with even chopping 2 beats at a time, then lay down. But it's also showing me that my mid-back is getting worse and worse. I can barely lift things that I used to be able to lift. And so I'm going to call the neurosurgeon Monday. I tell you, at this point, if they would agree to operate on me, I think I would do it, even if I could get 2 years out of it before it would collapse or start disintegrating on me. But I don't know if they will, since it's into the thoracic spine. And so I'll find out. Maybe or if the specialist could do a bigger amount of steroid, because I got a little under 3 weeks. It definitely wasn't worth that for the ordeal and the pain of the injection down into my spinal area. And it's risky. That can irritate my arachnoiditis if they get too close in there. So just have to figure ways to adapt. So thanks for listening. I hope even this helps some of you, because out in your regular lives, it doesn't have to be pain. It can be other things that become overwhelming, and you feel like you're in over your head and you aren't managing things and you aren't functioning properly and don't have the time with God that you want, or the quality of the time with God, the silence that is needed to be listening and to pick up the nuances of God. Also pray. I'm going to pray and ask God to break through any noise that I've had to have, silent noise, that is my mind clutter, to distract from pain, to break through that, to talk with me. I'm asking him that because he understands my pain level and what I'm going through. I should have caught myself, though, on being triggered with the past and my ex-husband, to go into a rant over all that. But once you get going, escaping pain, it's, you don't want to come back, so you just keep writing. But if you're into something that isn't holy and isn't necessary, it's negative. It's just more mind clutter, but of evil things and horrible things. I did pray for my ex-husband again, but I could have done that without spending time writing the other to my sister, explaining what she didn't even really need to know. I'd probably explained before, a couple years ago, when my son had cut me off, why he had. It's all connected with that. That's what got me going. When, she asked, where would I be spending Christmas? Well, her world is so different than mine. And I didn't dare say, well, this is what a hermit would be doing. She can't cope with that. That's not an acceptable thing to be. So I have to just be more on top of it. I'm going to pray, ask the Holy Spirit to help me be strong, and to know what I need to be doing and not doing. Know what is off the list to be doing, what's inappropriate for me. And to not, the devil didn't make me do it, but the devil was helping with that. Once I got going, the memories, it was just like I was right back there. And then it all kept coming and coming and coming, because it was trauma. And some traumas, PTSD, you can forgive and all of that, but it can get triggered. So I've got to learn to not let myself be triggered. And that's up to me, my angel I'm asking to help me more. And just keep trying, doing our best, trying my best. And I'm not going to say my best isn't good enough either. I'll just keep repeating, I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best. And I'll keep trying. As my dad used to say, never say die. Don't quit. God bless His real presence in us.